I'm Stewart Bloor and I'm going fishing this evening. It will be session number 2, however, not quite what it seems, because I was up at first light this morning on the bank, put some corn into the swim and a very gentle flick with the rod, and as I did so I heard a plop. The reel handle had detached itself from the reel and had fallen in the water. It wasn't too deep, so I decided to investigate and see if I could find the aforementioned part that had fallen beneath the surface. So I went down to water level, got my Wellington boots on, which were about that deep, took my first step, and the water was about, you can't even see it on the screen, that deep. Therefore, I felt the water of the pool coming into my boots. I was wet. Rather than retreat though, I thought to myself, in for a penny, in for a pound, and I put the other foot in and went to the spot right beneath where I had cast out and started to feel around for the reel handle. How can something that drops immediately there and you know where it is and you go to it, how can it be so hidden? It reminded me of when I lost my wedding ring, and I've told that story recently, and in the end I just couldn't find it and I had to give up. On this occasion, although I did have to go home, you can't fish without the handle on the reel, I wasn't going to surrender that easily. So I contacted Ian Clark because he has a magnet fishing device, made it himself. He's very good at that sort of thing. Actually, he did make it when I'd lost a bang stick in the canal some time ago. Have you still got it? I asked him. And the reply came back, yes, I have. What have you done? Well, I told him, and I went to his home quite early in the morning to collect the aforementioned fishing magnet. However, when I got there, as Ian pointed out, and he thought about it in the meantime, it won't work on the reel handle because it's not metal. Therefore, that plan was abandoned. On the way home, I returned once more to the pool and had another mess, this time from the bank, because the water had now cleared. It was very murky when I left it previously, to see if I could spot the handle. I couldn't. However, I hate losing things, and so I returned once more, this time with waders, and I went into the water, got my hands down there on the bed of the pool and worked through very systematically. Lots of branches, lots of things that had fallen there over the years, very dirty, very silty. But again, unfortunately, I couldn't locate what I was after. And here I am again, back home, and in the words of U2, I still haven't found what I'm looking for. However, my angling session today, as opposed to this morning, will be an evening one. And I'm going to go back to the same spot. And when my rod has been cast, as well as watching that rod tip, I will be looking beneath me, hoping to find that which I'm looking for. Therefore, I will see you at the water's edge. Potholes have their purposes. I'm fishing now. I do love where I live. We've had some heavy rain today, and a pair of mallards decided to have a drink out of the water-filled pothole in the road. A nice, chilled, relaxed lifestyle, unfazed by what's going on around them. At the same time, being switched on. In the case of the mallards, those people who would run them over without even batting an eyelid. In ours, those folks in life who would do us harm at the earliest opportunity they could. Lots of lilies, but also clear patches as well. Fish to those. It's not rocket science, it's watercraft. As well as watching the end of the rod, as I stated in the video previously, I've also been casting my beady eye over the area where the handle fell in, but I can't see anything. How is it possible for something of that size to get lost in clear water? There's the silhouette, the shadow of the rod, and you can probably make out there the bed of the pool, just in the margins. It is clear, but I can't see what I'm looking for. I am after a tench, and this is definitely a needle in a haystack water. I'm certainly not making it easy for myself today, but I'm sure if you are like me, then you are always up for a challenge. Lots of watching and waiting, and it might not always come off, but when it does, it's a great feeling. And if it doesn't, you can always say, well, I can anyway. There's always another day, there's always tomorrow. I'm fishing for just a couple of hours this evening, but it's the right time of the day. Obviously the beginning is also good as well. I'm always confident, but I'm always realistic as well. Being realistic, whether it's in angling in particular or life in general, it's a good quality to have because it helps you to avoid getting disappointed. If you think that every time you turn up you will empty the lake, the pool, the pond, the ocean or the canal, it's not always like that, as we know, especially as I'm doing this evening, taking a very focused approach. I'm fishing with a grain of corn on a size 10 Drennan Super Specialist hook, and also putting out loose corn as well, about 3-4 rod lengths from the bank. I'm still fishing with the Okuma Xeon though. I borrowed a handle from another Okuma reel that I've got at home, and the rod, let me just feed that through, is a Fox Barbel Special 1.5 pound test curve, and the line is 6 pound Maxima Chameleon. I've already made reference to the hook working up from there about 5 inches, a size 6 shot, 5mm bead and a 7-gram bomb. Very simple rig, but it works. Will it work on this short session? I don't know. Realism as well as confidence, but it works. The heavens have just opened, and by the time I got the brolly up, they've closed again. The British weather. In fact, a lady just walked past her, a young girl, and asked me if I caught anything. I said, not yet. And then she said, a cold. I said, that's about right. And I made reference to the weather in general. We always talk about the weather if you're from outside the UK. British people always make conversation, small talk, break the ice with the weather. 2 weeks ago I told her we were in a heat wave, and here we are now. Doesn't really feel like summer. Having said that, the temperature is not too bad. It's just that when summer comes, many people in their minds expect beach weather for 3 months, but in reality it's far from that. Business as usual. They've opened again, the heavens that is. It's like looking for buried treasure, but I think I found something down there. I've stirred the bottom up slightly. It was metallic. It did have a light coloration to it. I'm very hopeful that when the silt settles, I might have actually found my reel handle. It was actually a small, hard lure. I saw it sticking out of the bed of the pool, and I thought I must have trodden on the reel handle this morning when I was messing about, and even that has now disappeared. I don't know about a needle in a haystack venue as far as the tinkers are concerned, but what I'm looking for is up there with them in that category. There is a certain amount of junk on the bed of the place that I'm fishing. However, some of that will be due to the retrieve. What I am doing is, as soon as I cast out, let that settle and then tighten very, very gently to the lead so that that doesn't drag. like so. Put the rod down and make sure it's just to the lead and not pulling it, which is of course something that you've got to get just right. Last thing you want is a hook bait that's masked with all that gunge. I just had a male mallard on briefly. What was happening is two of them, very clear, it's about 5 feet deep, they were diving down to the bottom where they could see the corn, and then as they were doing that I saw my rod start to go like that. I knew what had happened. I lifted and actually the bait was enveloped in this, so it was not so much hooked like you want the fish to be, but more like holding on through the weed. Anyway, they've now disappeared. They won't be back tonight, and I've still got about 30 minutes left, and I'm always hopeful of a fish, even if I am realistic as well as confident.